Hi, my name is Scarlett, and I am an atheist and skeptic, and today I am looking at the issues, namely LGBTQ plus issues. Lately, there is a lot going on in the US and in various countries abroad to push back on the gains of the LGBTQ plus community. A lot of heated rhetoric and associating especially gay men and trans individuals with child molesters and groomers. And to anyone who has been around a bit, we know the rhetoric is not new. As I have been bipping around Matt Slick's Carm pages, I noticed a lot of space dedicated to the question of the LGBTQ plus community. A lot of space. That's a lot of links to say Matt Slick ain't a homophobe, y'all. I can't look at it all. I will link to this page of links if you want to torture yourself. Warning, lots of repetition of concepts, lots of bad connections, lots of lazy thinking around everything just being sin. What I want to look at is the way this kind of Christianity poisons our discourse around how we accept others, how we evaluate moral claims, and how we determine what should be legal and what left to one's personal idea of morality. Are you ready for a journey into one man's cognitive dissonance? Let's take a look at the first page of I'm Not a Homophobe from 2011. We want peace, we don't advocate hatred, so we're all good, right? But then homosexuality is framed as an aggressive movement that will not leave Christians, etc. alone. First of all, it is not a movement, it is a sexual orientation. There are rights advocates. And anyway, this is all projection. It's Christians who want to be the ones to tell us how to live. Nice admission that homosexuals are not the only ones, so Slick can claim balance. Again, people, please, no violence. We love peace. But homosexuality is a sin and harmful. But please, no violence, please, like, y'all don't do any violence. So why write so much? Here you go. We aren't homophobes, y'all. We have God on our side. There you go. Matt Slick is not a homophobe. So what about Carm? Posted the same day. The usual misunderstanding because phobias are fears. But that's not what it means, Matt, and I think you know that. What is heterophobic? Define that for me. Oh, but let's look at the agenda. It is to make homosexuality an accepted lifestyle in society, to have it be considered a normal and healthy lifestyle, a legitimate marriage choice, and a morally sound option among all people. Ooh, scary, scary gay people living normal lives. So terrible, truly. I mean, the horror of it all. Gay equals sin, check. Again, we are not homophobic. We just don't think any LGBTQ plus people should have the same rights as straight people have. That's not homophobic at all. Sure, you can say the pro-homosexual movement is heterophobic and or Christophobic, but is that even a thing that's happening? Can you demonstrate that, or are you just doing a dumb tu quoque here? I really do think Matt is telling on himself here that he doesn't understand that LGBTQ folks have straight allies. People have friends and family members who support their identity. It's not heterophobic for people to advocate that gay people have the same rights as straight. It's not going against straight people. Words do mean things, Matt. They refer to what is actually going on. But I don't detect any defensiveness in Slick, do you? So, since Matt is all about the Bible, and especially about Jesus, what did Jesus say? LOL, this is from January 1st, 2014. What a way to spend the first day of a new year, worrying about other people's sexual orientation instead of celebrating and making resolutions and, I don't know, whatever else, relaxing, doing anything else besides posting about other people's lives. But I do love the category, Jesus, questions. That is the best. Hey, look at that. Jesus didn't specifically mention anything about gay people. Imagine that. Yeah, he upheld the law, but, that also included kosher laws, which Christians jettisoned, and things like not wearing mixed fabrics. So there's that. Anyway, the specific items that Slick quotes here don't have much to do with homosexuality. The danger red is his. A lot of this is about divorce. I scoured Slick's site to see if he had dedicated nearly as much time to that issue. Maybe it's there. I couldn't find it. I don't want to say that it's not there at all, but I couldn't find a whole page of links about divorce like I can find on LGBTQ issues. What's the difference? Matt has some pages on whether orientation is natural. I don't want to read the whole thing because LOL and surprise, to Matt it's all about our sin nature, but I do want to look at his misunderstanding of the whole issue. I'd like to preface this by saying there is something of a natural fallacy that something is good because it's natural. We do know that there are things that occur naturally that are bad for us, like certain mushrooms are poisonous, and there are some things that do not occur in nature that are good for us. You could think of a lot of medical procedures or medicine itself. So it doesn't really matter if it's natural, but what we're discussing right now is whether or not it is natural. Slick takes exception to the fact that people claim that homosexuality is natural, that it's the same as hair color, and he cites these studies that have been done on identical twins where the people have different sexual orientation, and so therefore it's not genetic. From that point, he goes into the fact that if it's genetic, then it shouldn't be passed on because gay people don't reproduce. All right, so there are several problems with this. One is that we don't think that there is a gay gene. They've looked for it. They have not found one. Right now, the best science says that it is epigenetics and not genetics, and maybe some other things too. But the other part of this, like there's like fractal wrongness here, is that gay people can reproduce. And historically, gay people got married, had children. They were married, obviously, to the opposite sex. And either they repressed their natural inclination because society forced them basically to live life in the closet. And maybe they were fine with it. I mean, they were seen in society. It's hard to know what the lived experiences of those people were, but some people did not express their sexual orientation. Other people got married, had children, and then had a lover on the side. It's like that's a possibility. So it is possible for gay people to have sex with the opposite sex and not be happy about it, but do it nonetheless because that is what is expected of them. But nonetheless, okay, so it's not genetic. This is a huge problem. And now, of course, we have sperm donors, we have IVF, we have surrogates that are possible. There are all kinds of things. And in any case, there are other ways that this to be natural that are not genetic, and therefore you can't conclude conclusively if it's not genetic, then it must be learned, and it is a preference. You can't conclude that. That's a false conclusion to this whole thing. The second section on this page is, if anything, worse. We have a misunderstanding of what is natural with homosexuality, namely that some people develop sexual and or romantic attractions to the same sex or gender. Slick thinks that gay people are born with homosexuality being acceptable morally instead of being born with an attraction. So that's just really bizarre. So ergo and therefore, people are born with a tendency to oppose homosexuality, which, no, our attractions are what they are, probably a result of functions of the brain. We have attractions to the same sex or gender, attractions to a different one, attractions to many. Bi people do exist. Slick suggests that someone is urging heteros to change their orientation, but homophobia is not an orientation, as Slick suggests. It is a belief, which is subject to change with information. Again, a misunderstanding about genetics, that heterosexuality can be passed down, not homosexuality. We've dealt with that. Gay people can reproduce, but it's not even genetic. So this, again, fractal wrongness. And then Slick suggests that gay people need to promote the heterosexual orientation and the civil rights of straight people as if they don't have them already. I think Slick is really telling on himself here. He imagines that there are dueling camps, that rights are a zero-sum game where if Slick supports rights for others that are not him, he loses his own, or that gay people will start advocating he lose his rights because, hey, presto, that's what he's doing. But I also find it interesting that Slick spends a lot of virtual ink to reassure us he's not homophobic, but then here he has a little diatribe in support of homophobia as something that is naturally good. Curious. But to be clear, no one is advocating that straight people lose their rights. No one is saying that we should have no representation of straight couples in pop culture. There are tons of those. People just want more gay, bi, trans representation. After all, there's a ton of media, and there was, even when Slick was writing, there was already Netflix existed, Amazon existed. There was tons of stuff that people could do. And just to be clear, homophobia is not an orientation. An orientation centers on a person's identity in relation to the gender to which they are sexually attractive. It is not just a belief or behavior, and it's definitely not a behavior. So as a side note, these orientations are about how you define yourself with your attractions. This is important as bi people, and I use that as an umbrella to include pan and omni people too. Hello, all my pan and omni people. You may be in a relationship with one gender, but have attractions to other genders. It's not your relationship that defines your orientation. It is your attraction. It's how you feel, how you relate to these people with romantic and sexual feelings, okay? So you can also have a celibate phase for some reason, but your orientation stays. So if you are attracted to the same gender and you go through a phase where you're just not with anybody, you're still attracted to the same gender. When the next time you're in a relationship, if you are, that's going to be that. If you're attracted to the opposite sex, that's going to be the next time. But so Slick only imagines this as a behavior, and he has predetermined that it is wrong because only one kind of sex is the right kind, and there's nothing else that can be here. So this all muddies the water, basically. His conclusion, by the way, is to put a bunch of behaviors together: lying, pedophilia, rape. Yeah, those are all the same, right? More on this topic? See, being gay is a sin. All this harmful stuff, this is all the same. The only real behavior he mentions is lying. Covetousness is just thought crime. Selfishness, arrogance, pride are more character traits. You would probably be happier without any of these things, and they can lead to bad behaviors, but they themselves are not bad behaviors. So this is just all muddied up into it's just sin, y'all. But this is what I mean about laziness of everything bad is a sin. Here, disease, death, just everything bad, all lumped together. So we have to untangle it. What is bad? What is happening? Now, personally, I don't see homosexuality, Slick's word, as a moral issue, but Slick does. To me, this is an orientation, who a person is, and it is in fact natural. Let's look at some of the questions. So the first question asks if homosexuals should be isolated from everyone else. Matt actually contemplates isolating them. On what basis? Oh, well, only if they agree logically. Number 2, if society determines what is right morally, then why did the homosexuals work against society to get the moral standards changed to agree with their moral preferences? Again, this is preference. This is what's natural. This is just who they are. But, why does anyone try to advocate for better circumstances for themselves, right? Truly, it is a mystery. Third, if a society determines what is right and wrong, then can they legitimately complain against the Nazi society that murdered Jews in World War II? What the actual fuck? Oh, if we accept gay people, we have to say the Nazis were right? Fucking hell. Number 4, if morality is based on personal preferences, and no one says that, then what do you do when the preferences of one person contradict the preferences of another in moral issues? Oh no, we might have to negotiate our behavior in society. Matt, we decide what our values are and we go from there. We don't just accept the words of a Bible. And 5, if morality is based on personal preferences and one person's opinion contradicts another, whose morality is right? That's a good starting point for a moral discussion. We have to negotiate it. Part of the problem is Matt Slick doesn't know how to approach moral issues without an edict from God. He says, all that can be offered, and he throws in things that are not moral issues like earthquakes, disease, famine, plague. See, to Slick, this is all just sin. All that is bad in society is sin. Now, as a society, we actually do work together on these non-moral issues. We have whole bureaucracies dedicated to watching our economy. Whether you agree with it or not, the point is nations do try to avoid economic collapse. We have in place agencies to work on disease, to look out for natural disasters, etc. We have divisions that give you money if you were a victim of a natural disaster. We don't just shrug our shoulders and say, looks like sin to me. Matt just starts from the Bible. Homo's bad, sin, what else is bad, post on his blog. Or really, I should say, he starts from the assumption that there is only one proper way to engage in sexual relations, one man, one woman in missionary position forever, because God. Never mind that the Old Testament showed other relationships, men with lots of wives and concubines, men sleeping with their daughters, men giving their wives to pharaohs, pretending she is a sister. Ruth and Naomi sound a lot like a sapphic relationship to me. For wherever you go, I will go. Wherever you lodge, I will lodge. It's true love. But Slick is an authoritarian. Authoritarians like simple rules-based systems where acts are just right or wrong, no context matters. They appeal to something beyond them, God, to avoid doing all the rough, thinky stuff. And he's done it so long it probably messes with his head to get out of it. Also, probably he can't even hear what other people mean about how they construct moral systems. And by the way, seeing some of his responses on his forum, he missing the point. It's like he is a master at dodgeball. He doesn't seem to hear the actual point, and to him this is all theoretical, so it doesn't really matter. It's just a logic exercise. Probably there are lots of people out there who haven't thought about the basis of their morality. They base their moral judgments on instinct. And, they might be ripe to confuse by somebody like a Matt Slick. But, there are moral systems out there. All is not just on my personal preferences. There is a long tradition in human culture of pondering ethics and morality. It isn't all divine command theory. Yoga is not just stretching. It has a moral system called the yamas, the restraints. Yoga doesn't tell you what right action is. It provides guiding principles. We might think of them as values. It's up to you to figure it out and negotiate with other people. Even something as simple as ahimsa, which is nonviolence, doesn't mean that violence is never warranted. You are looking to create the least violence. So, for example, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna advocates war because it is war that will bring the least suffering. And so you have to negotiate these things. It's not like do this, don't do that. I guess that's the point. Humanism is also a principle-centered system. Human welfare forms the core of morality. We want full development of human existence, creating relationships. So with relationships comes care and concern from others and refraining from cruelty, working to benefit society. So it is the interplay of individual and society, not just one or the other. You don't just say let's just reduce this all down to one answer. Are the answers easy? No, we need to discuss and analyze the work of experts in fields like psychology, medicine, science, philosophy, sociology. There are so many fields to contemplate. See what produces better outcomes for individuals, communities, society. It's not easy. This is not easy. This is hard stuff. I like these more positive focus systems too. What should we do? Not just what are we not supposed to do? Who should we be? I think these are awesome starting places. And what should we do here? Christians say that they are positive, but it's all pray and worship God. I don't see the benefit to humans here on earth in the amount of time that we know we have. I want to end on Matt Slick's notion of the harm gay marriage could bring. It's interesting reading this years after Obergefell, and now marriage has been the law of the land for many years. So let's see. All right, first paragraph, harm is a relative term, blah, blah, blah. This first paragraph could be written by an undergraduate in a rough draft of a paper. Let's skip it. The second paragraph isn't much better, really. Right off the bat, we have this appeal to tradition. And by the way, this is not true. We know of men marrying men in Roman society, and we know of same-sex relationships going far back. So anyway, this isn't true that it has only been a man-woman. It wasn't common, but it happened. Also, emotional and sexual fidelity King David, anyone? There is a long tradition of marriages just being arranged to keep property together, and there was no emotional attachment, and sexual fidelity was up to the woman. So, we're just not going to... Well, marriage has changed a lot. Marriage changes all the time. So, this is just like a non sequitur. If it changes, it changes. The next paragraph, again, this is like twaddle. So here's a list of ways in which gay marriage can bring harm. Let's just go on to this. Number 1, it can bring huge financial and emotional stress. Homosexuals can sue people who are exercising their religious beliefs. He gives this example of a family that want to rent out a room. It's a very strange example. It's really strange. Anyway, but this is all irrelevant. The U.S. is a litigious society. You can get sued for all kinds of bullshit. Don't discriminate. And then you can have your little room rent out business or find another side business. Hustle culture is everywhere, y'all. It's just such a strange example to go of a family renting a room. But anyway, cry me a river. Bigot's going to go to civil court. But I'm marking this as irrelevant. You can get sued whether gay marriage exists or not. Next. The health risks are enormous to themselves and others. Ooh, health, AIDS, scary. By the way, AIDS is not the death sentence it once was. There is medicine for those who contract the disease, and PrEP is a thing. You equals you, so you can do you. They missed that boat. Anyway, I'm marking this as irrelevant. STIs have existed and will exist whether or not gay marriage is a thing, and straight people can also transmit these, so bye-bye. Gay marriage means having the morals of the minority forced upon the majority. Well, not anymore. More people actually are accepting LGBTQ plus equality. But anyway, you don't have to accept gay marriage. People will just say you're homophobic and walk away. That's your problem, really. You want to keep gay people from getting married and having someone pat you on the back for your moral fortitude? Poor Matt not getting seen as the hero he feels himself to be. Also, nice associating theft, stealing, raping with people in a committed relationship. As for the minority position on the majority, this is irrelevant. We shouldn't vote on rights. We grant or deny them based on principles and values, not Sky Daddy says no. Next. Gay marriage means a redefinition of sexual morality, and with it, other sexual-related practices will be affected, and this can be harmful. Irrelevant. There are same-sex relationships whether they can marry or not. Also, lovely associating just everything sexual into one pot. Pedophilia, porn, child porn, prostitution, sex trafficking, because these are all the same. We can't tell the difference between these. Ugh. Next. Number 5. Gay marriage reduces the number of children born in society, and we need a stable population base to operate properly. Therefore, society can't be harmed. First off, I don't think the human population is an issue. Obergefell, by the way, was in 2015, and as of November 2022, the world population was 8 billion with a B. But anyway, this is irrelevant. Gay people can still have kids. IVF is a thing. Surrogates are a thing. They can do that with or without marriage. So can straight people, by the way. Just irrelevant. Next. 6. Gay marriage affects people spiritually. Don't assume that people's spiritual beliefs are irrelevant. People consider spiritual issues to be extremely important, and the stress imposed on religious people by forcing them to accept and or support homosexual practice and or intimidate them into silence harms a person's spiritual and emotional health. Irrelevant. You're just upset that people call you a homophobe because you want to deny them rights. That's not the same as people being denied actual housing, jobs, visitation of a sick partner, adoption, basically life. Just close yourself off in a bubble. It doesn't matter. You have your spirituality on the side and just think ill of everybody till the end of time. Next. 7. It forces government to get involved in changing laws that automatically affect everyone in society. Welcome to society. We change laws all the time. Well, not this Congress. Not really. But anyway, by the way, homosexuality is not being force-fed. Students are asked to respect their peers and the families they have. You make me sick. Last one. Number 8. It exposes adopted children within potential homosexual unions to ridicule from others. You gotta be kidding me, right? All of these pages talking about how awful gay people are, associating them with pedophiles and rapists and murderers and everything bad in the world, and then you're worried about children being ridiculed from others. I just can't even. Well, that's what I have for you this week. Matt Slick isn't a homophobe, you guys. He really isn't. No homo, no homophobe. I don't know, that's not even a saying. That was just dumb. I will be doing a part 2 to this because there was a whole page that it just would have made this video too long, and I'm really interested in getting into those answers, so be on the lookout for that. In the meantime, did something strike you about the things that Matt Slick wrote? Put it in a comment below. I'm always interested in hearing what you have to say. And while you're down there, like, subscribe, and do all the YouTube stuff. You're on YouTube. You know what to do. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.